two and then adding on the striking over the last two. In his youth, he played basketball and volleyball, so he knows how to set some strikes up, if you know what I mean, David.
For sure, and it sounds like he's an all-around athlete. And even though, you know, typically with jiu-jitsu guys, we see them so comfortable in certain positions, but when you add the athleticism with jiu-jitsu, you get really good scrambles that get you in a really good positions. And sometimes you see just things you never see before at the highest levels of jiu-jitsu.
Here he is, Adarion Mahone in the APFC octagon. Let's get his opponent out here.
Welcome, making his way to the cage from Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, Gunnar, the Gun Show, Helland.
The Gun Show is here in the Waukesha Expo Center. He says that he just wants to execute the game plan, stay composed, and get the job done by any means necessary. Started training mixed martial arts last year, but has been wrestling since the 5th grade. Lifelong practitioner of that Olympic sport, David Evans.
You know, growing up in wrestling, you know, I'm not biased at all, but I kind of like that game plan, man. I have the idea that this fight here is going to be a bit of a chess match. You have the jiu-jitsu guy versus the dominant wrestler here in the Gun Show. Another cool nickname so far.
Gun to my head, if somebody asked me to question what his background was, I mean, those traps tell the story of what this guy does in the gym. It's all wrestling all day.
For sure, if I'm casting a wrestling movie like Vision Quest, I'm going right to the Gun Show. I'm like, hey, I need you in the supporting role.
When asked what he's fighting for, originally he said it was to test himself and really push the limits of his athletic ability and stay in shape, but now here in the APFC arena, he's fighting for his coach, who is having some health issues. We're hoping that his coach pulls through, as does the Gun Show, Gunnar Helland. Tonight, we send it inside to Mike Hansen.
3 rounds in the APFC Welterweight division, sponsored by Harry the Jeweler. And your referee in charge is Rob Madrigal. And now, introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing black, he stands 6 feet tall. Official weight, 166.8 pounds. He comes in tonight with a record, 1 victory with no defeats. From Zion, Illinois, Adarion Mahone. And across the cage, his opponent fighting out of the red corner, wearing black, he stands 6 feet tall. Official weight, 168.8 pounds. He comes in tonight with a record, 1 victory with no defeats. From Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, Gunnar, the Gun Show, Helland.
Third man of the octagon is again Rob Madrigal, getting the second assignment of the night between Adarion Mahone and Gunnar, the Gun Show, Helland. Jiu-jitsu versus wrestling. Interesting when you think about the MMA debut for Adarion Mahone. 2nd round submission over Dan P at Combat 61. That was December 17th of 2022. Here he is, about 7 months later.
Hey, staying busy. I mean, I like that as an athlete, as a competitor myself. I think the more time you get, the better.
Shot from Helland early, gets it down, now to the back. Already displaying that high-level wrestling, David.
Helland went right to the game plan. He knows what he came here to do, and he's doing it right off the bat.
Now transition here to the front. This is a bit better for Adarion Mahone, but Gunnar Helland firmly in control here against the cage. 2:30 with which to work in round number 1. Once again, tonight's fight's brought to you by Toyo Tires. If you need a tire, I encourage you to head down to Toyo.
Ben, I need a tire, man. I gotta make that trip. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Helland so far. Even when he had his opponents back against the cage, the little thing he's looking for as a wrestler was the head position. Once he got that head position, it allowed him to get the body lock, and now he's here on top.
Sliding through with that piercing left knee. But Adarion Mahone, used to these types of positions. As a BJJ player, you gotta be pretty well-rounded with your guard, whether you're on top or on bottom, David.
This is kind of the old school story, the wrestler versus the jiu-jitsu guy. The wrestler tends to control the positions. The jiu-jitsu guy looks to catch the wrestler in his aggression. So that's what we got to look for from Mahone off of his back, looking to catch his opponent in positions to look for submissions.
You can see trying to bring that left leg up over into a rubber guard maybe. He's pretty active off of his back, David.
Very active. What he's going to look to do here, he's setting up the rubber guard. He has to get his hips to a side to finish anything here. So just kind of look for the battle of the hips here. The fighter on top, the wrestler, is going to dominate the hip position. The fighter on bottom, the jiu-jitsu guy, is going to look to slide side to side and find that submission here. He's throwing them up, just nothing solid.
the gun show, Gunnar Helland, really not posturing up a whole heck of a lot. He's just sitting down and pressuring and keeping Adarion Mahone planted on the canvas.
I think he wants to make his opponent work here. You know, just trying to pressure forward, nice hip pressure, nice head pressure. That's a lot of weight to carry on top of you here if you're on the bottom.
55 seconds remain in round number 1. Gunnar Helland just sort of controlling, but maybe not doing a whole heck of a lot with the position itself.
Just controlling, you know, trying to wear his opponent out. There were a few spots where he got some hand control, was able to throw a little pot shot here and there.
He's got the right arm of Mahone trapped for a moment there, but Mahone pops it out. Beautiful job by Helland. Now Mahone getting very active, maybe trying to work back to his feet, but Helland denies.
Helland just controlling the hips right here. Mahone pushing the head away, doing all of the right things, but that pressure there on top seems to be a little bit too much to handle in those scrambling positions.
Half guard is earned in the final 15 seconds for Gunnar Helland. We'll see if Adarion Mahone has any answers in round number 2. I got to imagine that Helland's just going to go back to the well with the takedown to kick off the second round.
For sure, and I think he caught Mahone a little bit off guard, just coming right in with that shot, and maybe we see a
couple up kicks right at the end of round number 1 from Adarion Mahone, but Gunnar Helland, all systems point to him earning the 10-9 on the scorecards.
Mahone fighting to the buzzer there. I like that. Helland did exactly what he said he was going to do here. I'm going to implement my game plan. I'm the wrestler. I'm going to come out here. I'm going to wrestle. Dominated position for position here, and I think we got to give him that round simply for control.
We take it to a quick look at the replay of those first 3 minutes. Got to imagine that big takedown is going to be the first thing we see.
Boom, right there, attacking the leg, just running through that shot. Wasn't the most technical of shots, but, you know, whatever, by any means necessary. Got control. You see him got the half, controlling the hips. Got on top, got the position, and Mahone is fighting through every position, trying to get his hips up, throwing up the up kicks. Just a little bit of everything, just all action nonstop from both guys here.
The unrelenting force of Gunnar Helland. I mean, if you look at him from a certain angle, shades of Brock Lesnar, potentially.
You know what? If I close my left eye and squint the other one, yeah, for sure. Definitely a little young Brock Lesnar there.
You can see Rob Madrigal gets us going for this 170-pound affair. Again, round number 2 is underway. Big shot right there. Helland might be briefly stunned.
And that's what I was going to say with Mahone being the southpaw. What he was doing was stepping his foot to the outside, and he was going to anticipate throwing that left hand down the middle. However, Helland stuck to the game plan. I'm going to wrestle through it. Wrestle through that first shot, man. I love the mentality there.
And now directly in half guard, you can see he's isolating that left hand. Mahone's got very few places to go with 2 minutes and 25 seconds left in round number 2.
You know, the first round we saw all control on top from Helland. We saw Mahone get a few positions where he could scramble out, almost threw up an arm bar.
Deep arm triangle here, a lot of pressure on Adarion Mahone. Can Gunnar Helland finish it? No, it gets a little bit overzealous, and up to the feet is Adarion Mahone.
Yeah, Helland got a little bit overzealous there and created too much space between the hips, and that's how we saw Mahone kind of get out from that position. However, Helland right back to the legs, going to get right back to where I'm comfortable, get to the shot. Perhaps here, maybe look for him to step to the right here and maybe take the back, or do what he's doing now, stitching the legs and looking to climb up into a half guard or a mount position.
2 people in perpetual motion. Like we mentioned at the end of round number 1, these guys don't stop working.
They don't stop working, and that makes for a tough time for us, but a better time for the crowd.
Gunnar Helland once again riding on top. This is bad for Mahone. Helland finds his way almost all the way to the back.
You know, even though Helland was a wrestler, I didn't really pick him for a leg rider. You know, he stuck that leg in right away. He seems to have good position on top. He's behind the armpits, most importantly, so that's going to keep him in the position. I'm liking what I'm seeing here from Helland on top.
Once again, Helland controlling that left arm of Mahone. Adarion trying to really use his dexterity to get his way out of it and finds himself in half guard.
Now, it may not look like Helland is doing a lot, even in that first round, but he's doing all of the small little things that are giving him good positions. The wrist control, the hand control in different positions, controlling the hips, putting head pressure where he needs to put it. It's not pretty, but it's some of the most effective work when you're grappling.
48 seconds left in round number 2. Gunnar Helland stepping all the way here in the full mount. His amateur debut was February 25th of this year against Ross Waddle at IFA 2. Got it done on the scorecards, but he's showing a little bit more. Oh, but Mahone finds his way out the back door. Big shot by Mahone. Down goes Helland. Adarion Mahone with some lethal strikes. The gun show potentially out of ammo. Adarion Mahone trying to finish it. He's got 20 seconds left. Helland trying to survive. That's it.
Ben. I think he might do it, and it's done. Wow. I blinked for a second, man, and this fight is over.
It was a head kick as Mahone popped up. He unloaded the clip into the gun show and gets it done via round 2 TKO. Adarion Mahone had so many answers here tonight.
Man, I think everybody at home is like this close, and I know you can't see me, but a hairpin away from writing off Mahone. That first shot, boom, the left hand going down the middle. We saw him trying to time that earlier, but he finally got it and it landed flush. Followed up, and we saw Helland trying to stick to the wrestling game here. Boom, big left kick right there, and that's just, I think that was the beginning of the end, seriously, there, man. That left kick, man, Helland tough, tried to fight through it, tried to wrestle through it, but his opponent, Mahone, just kept firing with shots right to the temple, knew he had the equilibrium off, and just followed up. That was beautiful.
Again, that huge head kick right as Adarion Mahone popped up. And then that right cross, or hook rather, was just the one that sat him down, and some lethal ground and pound. Very accurate. No wasted energy from Adarion Mahone here in this finishing sequence. A beautiful finish to extend his record to 2-0 with 2 finishes. 100% finishing rate, David. That's a good, clean night for Adarion Mahone.
Normally when you hear a jiu-jitsu guy say he's been working on his striking, you don't really expect much. But Mahone is a jiu-jitsu guy who has been working on his striking, and that is a beautiful example of being patient through every position. I almost written him off. I think everybody almost written him off, but